I was coming home from spending the evening in LA. I live in OC and lived in LA for a bit, so I know the general area and freeways really well and have an excellent sense of direction. I found myself headed into the opposite direction of where I needed to be headed with no memory of switching to the northbound freeway. I was a little bit tired, but vividly I remember getting off of the main streets of the middle of the city and onto the southbound 101 freeway. My drive was around 40 minutes long at that point. Waze said so. All of a sudden, I look down at my phone and my drive is over an hour long, after having traveling for at least 20 minutes. I'm on the 405 North, which for anybody who doesn't know, is miles and miles away from the 101 freeway. A jolt of energy went through my body as I thought that I had just woken up and I was absolutely freaked out. I was nearing LAX, headed north, so I got off of the next exit and I made a left and got onto the southbound 405. This was not the direction or even the same freeway that I was on for at least 20 minutes, and I have no absolutely clue of how I got onto this road. I started crying and flipping out, but I told myself just to relax and just get home. I had to keep checking that I was going the right way. I was, finally. It was so freaky because I know these roads like I know every centimeter of my face. Now, for the record, I don't have a dash cam and I don't take any medications that would affect my memory. What do you think this could have been? How did I lose that time? Why do I remember those 20 minutes, watching the time of my drive decrease as I was approaching my destination, and then with the snap of a finger, I was an hour away on a different freeway and in the wrong direction. So yeah, I wouldn't even say it was the sun. In fact, it definitely was not the sun. It was more like someone hit a switch on reality for a second. More like a half a second. Now for context, I was in my living room with my girlfriend and my dog was just in the other room. I was reciting song lyrics to my dog as I was standing basically between rooms. I got about halfway through what I was saying to my dog and click, but it wasn't a noise. It was even more quiet than before, but literally just for a half of a second. I pretty much instantly looked over to my girlfriend, and before I even could say anything, she asked me if I saw that too. Now the crazy part is that this actually happened to me about 2 other times that I can remember. One time was about a year ago and I summed it up to my eyes playing tricks on me. Another time as a kid that I can vaguely remember. I looked at other stories about the same thing happening and people say many strokes or maybe you just blinked. But for me and my girlfriend in the same room that experienced the same exact thing at the same exact time makes zero sense. I highly doubt that we both had many strokes simultaneously. And I also highly doubt that we both mistaken something as instinctual and common as blinking for our reality blinking off for a half of a second. And oh yeah, this was a very sunny day and there was only literally natural light filling up the rooms. Not a single artificial light was on. Seven years ago, while visiting my grandparents, they told me that their next-door neighbor's son committed suicide in their house a few days prior. He was about 30, and he had some tough mental health struggles. It was fairly traumatic as he had children in the house who witnessed the event. The children were sent to my grandparents' house for a few hours while ambulance were called and the scene was cleared up. It was clearly horrendous and all involved, and the somber conversation took up most of the afternoon with my grandmother breaking down in tears. My grandmother sadly passed away in between then and now, and my grandfather is now getting on with his life. My mother called me a few weeks ago to tell me that my grandparents' neighbor's son had committed suicide the day before and essentially retold me the entire story down to the children going to my granddad's house while their home was being cleared up. I told her that I knew it had happened years ago. She told me it happened just yesterday. Both utterly confused, I ended the call and was genuinely worried about my mother. She's in her late 50s now, and she was retelling me the old story. So I called my very elderly granddad, who broke down on the phone and was utterly shell-shocked, telling me that he had to look over the children. So I got to thinking that maybe my granddad is having issues with his memory and has retold my mother, and somehow she didn't remember it happened years ago. Wanted to check on my own sanity at this point. I called my daughter and she confirmed with me that I told her that the guy had passed away years ago. It was common knowledge at this point, and I'm sure we had discussed it many times before. We came to this conclusion that my grandfather was accidentally gaslighting my mom. But the freaky thing is that he wasn't. The funeral was the following week. They both attended and the death was in the local newspaper. My granddad has zero recollection of telling me with my grandmother years ago. I really don't know what to say. I'm kinda having a mild freak out and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to think. 2 days ago, I wrote a letter to somebody, so I grabbed a notebook from my nightstand. I know it was this notebook in particular because on the very first page there was a journal entry from when I briefly had attempted to write journals. I remember reading the journal entry and then turning to the next page and writing what I needed to write. When I had finished, I skimmed through the rest of the notebook and found a few pages of comic strips I had drawn from years back that I had almost forgotten about. I had ripped out the page that I needed, and I continued on. Today, I decided to tidy up my room and saw the notebook. The first page has the same journal entry, except now the pages with the comic strips have disappeared. I know I didn't rip them out for any reason. I have looked through every single page of this notebook, front to back, and they were nowhere to be found. I have even checked other notebooks that I have stashed in my closet just in case, and they didn't have them either. It's like they've just vanished. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I know that I saw them in that specific notebook just a few days ago. Now they've just erased from existence. Good evening, everyone. If you happen to like our content, then please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing is free. If you ever feel the need to change it, you can always do so. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that way you never miss any of our content. Now back to the video. The last time we had McDonald's was about a week ago. Since then, we have cleaned the house and taken out all the trash multiple times. Earlier tonight, I spent a great deal of time tidying up so that way our house would be cozy. I know for a fact that there weren't any fast food debris laying around. Anyway, my husband and I were watching the latest episode of House of the Dragon and then proceeded to watch the making of the miniseries. He fell asleep and I went upstairs to draw for a bit. When I got sleepy myself, I went downstairs to wake up my husband and subconsciously threw away the McDonald's cup on a coffee table. Then it suddenly occurred to me that the cup wasn't even there before. My husband was dead asleep the whole entire time, but I checked the ring cam footage to confirm there wasn't a DoorDash order or something, and there wasn't. No one has been in or out besides us. My husband thinks I'm crazy, and I probably am. But that table was clean before I went upstairs, 100%. I can't even rationalize where the cup came from, and that's what's freaking me out. I have to feed the old man cat behind a closed door to keep the young fat cats from stealing his senior food. This morning, I do admit that the door wasn't fully closed, but that's not the problem because the fats have learned not to push through because they know they're not getting any, and the old man is no longer lucid, strong, or agile enough to open the door even when it's cracked. So the door was about 2 fingers open when he was done eating. Because he's been eating the box as soon as he's done eating, I do not hesitate to follow him to the door. My eyes did leave him, but not the door since that was my destination, but he wasn't at the door when I got there. I looked around for him confused, then figured he probably took a sharp right into a hidey hole. I opened up the door, which was still 2 fingers open, which the door swings in, and there he was on the other side acting like he was confused and getting ready to make his feeble attempts to squeeze in. It's worth noting that the door does not have a hatch that makes it loud and it's a little more difficult to swing open. So unless he's narrow enough and had a moment of lucidity great enough to escape, I would have seen and heard the door swing open. Did I just feed a ghost cat? Or did my cat just glitch through the door? Good evening, everyone. This is Yuri K, and this is the end of the video. Please leave a comment and let us know your opinions on the matter. If you happen to like this content, please check out our other videos. Make sure you like and share amongst your friends and family to help our community grow. You happen to be new to this channel? Please make sure you subscribe. It's free, and you can always change it in the future. You have some terrifying story suggestions? If so, make sure that you send it to my email, fearofthedarkstories@gmail.com, and I'll feature it in a future segment. But you guys stay safe out there, and remember to always be afraid of the dark.